Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to do another part of the series horror movies that I watched so you didn't have to. And today's movie is going to be one that's a little bit more recent. It came out in 2016 and it's called Zoombies. The movie was directed by Glenn Miller and written by Scott Mullen. Now both of these people have done other movies in the past, and Scott Mullen, the writer, is a little bit more consistent with what he does. He's still doing stuff up until like 2019, but both of them do more B-list projects. They were both worked on some of the Sharknado movies and just other kind of like mocking movies, I guess you could say. Scott Muller has written for a few TV movies and stuff like that, but nothing super notable. I think the thing I noticed most about both their portfolios was they both worked on Sharknado, which we all know that those movies aren't taken too seriously. So we've got two people behind this project who have already done kind of joking movies, so they weren't setting this movie up as something that they wanted to do that would be taken seriously. They knew they were making a movie meant for television. And my oh my, did they make just one of the worst movies I think I've ever watched. For a quick synopsis of the movie Zoombies, the title sort of says it all. It's a zoo full of rare or endangered species that suddenly get infected by some weird virus that goes airborne and causes those animals to get infected, as they call it, which basically makes them into zombies. It's based in Eldon Wildlife Zoo, which is getting ready to open up to the public. As I said, it's a zoo full of endangered and like rare animals. And they have a bunch of college students who are going to be interns working at the zoo. It's their first day on the job. They're getting toured, kind of seeing everything that they have. And at the same time, in the veterinarian office, some of the small monkeys started to get sick. And one of them is like on like the table getting ready to pass away. They're trying like everything to do to save him. It's very intense. And they inject him with something that causes some other thing in his system to like interact, and it makes him into a zombie monkey. He like dies and they're all like, oh man, I wish we could have saved him. And then he comes back as a zombie monkey. And then like it's an airborne thing, so all the other monkeys that were in the office start to go crazy because they're all zombies as well. And the monkey that was on the table like attacks everyone in the vet office and everyone dies and it triggers an alarm. And instead of sending all of these brand new college students home, they just keep them there and have them help shut down the zoo and try to save the animals. So our team is like a few researchers and people who actually know what they're talking about, and then like 5 or 6 college kids who don't have any idea what's going on. And as you can imagine, there's lots of terrible deaths and just crazy shit that happens in between, where they're trying to like stop this virus from spreading, but it's like airborne and hitting all of the different animals. And like the main goal in the movie is to get to where the birds are kept. They're kept in like this really big dome area, and they're trying to make sure that the birds don't get infected, and if they do get infected, to make sure they don't get out, because then they can like go off of the island and infect animals that are in the wild, and this thing is like spread worldwide. So that's like the end goal, is to make sure that the birds don't get infected, or at least the birds don't get out, and then to get all the people out. And in between there's lots of like death and bad CGI zoo animals. And the movie does end with them bring down the aviation center with all the birds inside of it, because they just decided they had to cut their losses and do that. And then they all escape. I think only like 3 or 4 people survived from like the main 10 that had like split up and gone to do stuff. I didn't bother learning any of their names. I didn't even bother trying to look them up for this video, because honestly, like, there's so many characters that have such like little parts, it's not worth trying to remember. But the reason I even know that this movie exists is because my boyfriend and I saw it on Netflix like 3 years ago. We were in college and bored and looking for something to watch. I think it had like not even a full star on Netflix. It was like the corner of the star was still missing. It was rated horribly, which like really piqued our interest because it looked ridiculous, and it was a new like 2016 movie. So we were like, okay, this is like a newer movie. The effects shouldn't be too bad. I wonder why it got such a bad star. It deserved that barely a star, let me tell you. The premise is not one that we haven't seen before. It's very, very reminiscent of Jurassic Park, except for dinosaurs, it's zoo animals. And that was intentional. They were kind of making a callback to Jurassic Park. And Dr. Ellen Rogers, who's like the bad bitch on campus who runs everything, is supposed to be the granddaughter of Dr. John Hammond, who is the doctor in the Jurassic Park movies. So it's supposed to quite literally be almost like a sequel to Jurassic Park. And this was more for fans of Jurassic Park and like of horror movies to have like a little Easter egg to know that she's supposed to be like the granddaughter. But that almost hurts the movie more than it helps, because you're comparing yourself to something so spectacular and like well known, and you're not doing it in a way that's serious. It was meant to be kind of like a joking movie in the beginning, and then just like the dialogue, the acting, and the effects made it so much worse than it needed to be. So comparing it to Jurassic Park was a bad move altogether for me. Because it's like we've already seen it done so well, and now we're watching like a shittier version. So why would I watch something worse than the original, you know? But it was like a Saturday night, and we wanted to just try to make it through like a funny horror movie that we could kind of laugh and joke with. And I seriously think we were like 30 minutes in, and we paused to like get more snacks. And we had a moment where we looked at each other, and I was like, do you really want to finish this movie? And he was like, well, not really, but we're kind of like halfway through, so I feel like I've wasted enough of my time, I might as well finish it. So that's what we did. And the movie is just so genuinely hard to get through if you're trying to watch it in like a serious way. It's definitely one of those movies that like you put on in the background of a party. So like if people are just sitting on the couch, they have something to look at on the TV, but no one's actually invested in the story because the story is hardly there. There's so many like plot holes throughout it. Like at one point the SWAT team shows up, and like the security in the zoo has like GPS tracking dots for the SWAT team that just showed up. It's like, how do you have GPS tracking on the SWAT team that just showed up? Like, it just, there's so many points that don't make sense. And, you know, there's like really big inconsistencies. Like one guy will like lock the door with like this keypad, and the next person just like walks right in without unlocking it. So there's so many like inconsistencies throughout the movie that aren't even like, oh, I didn't notice that until I watched it again. It's like blatantly right there in your face while you're watching it right now. And while you can get through bad dialogue and bad acting and still enjoy a movie for what it is, this movie doesn't even have that. I personally think one of the best actors is like the little girl who fights a koala with a baseball bat. She's one of the ones that only seems like genuinely good at what she's doing. All the other actors take their roles super seriously, which isn't a bad thing, and you know, props to them for, you know, I'm in a movie, I'm going to take it as seriously as I can. I really do appreciate that. But the dialogue and the events are so bad. It's like you're trying too hard to make something shitty seem serious and good. It's like the movie is self-aware without realizing it. It's not like other mocking horror movies like the Scary Movies, like Haunted House that makes fun of like Paranormal Activity and, you know, all the other horror movie cliches. That those movies are very self-aware and they know what they're doing and they do it well. It's funny, it's got a couple of like good jump scares, and it's got good acting in it. And the dialogue's a little bit cheesy, but it's still trying to purposely make fun of something else. This movie is more like a college student trying to recreate Jurassic Park, but they've never written a script before. It's very just like choppy dialogue that like is supposed to sound serious and like this is a really big deal, but it does not come off like that. And one of the worst parts about this movie is the effects. The CGI in this movie is the worst CGI I've ever seen in a movie that's trying to actually call itself a movie. A lot of times the CGI'd animals are like by themselves, so the people aren't even like in the shots. And it's very blatantly fake. And then like the parts where the animals are interacting with the people, it's like bad costumes. The worst, absolute worst is Kifo, who's supposed to be this like super rare gorilla. I think it's like the last one in existence that the zoo has. It's like the big selling point of the zoo. Even like their logo is of this gorilla's face. And he ends up getting infected and chasing after them. And every time they show the gorilla interacting with the people, it's just someone in a gorilla suit. But like as he's like running through the fields, you can see like the pant legs like swishing. There's at one point where you can sort of see like the sneakers the person's wearing. And every time they show the face, he's just wearing a mask, so there's no like emotion, there's no emoting, the mouth doesn't even open. And then like they would shoot to a CGI shot, and now the gorilla is like fully animated and like growling, and its eyes are different colors, and it's like emoting, and then it's like back to the costume gorilla of this person just like, you know, trying to imitate a gorilla and making grunting gorilla noises. It's just it genuinely looks like a bad art project. Like someone just found out how green screens and CGI worked, and they just like overlaid them onto some footage they shot of them and their friends climbing rocks with someone in a gorilla suit. The transitions aren't smooth. It's just none of it blends well together. And like the CGI gorilla looks completely different than the costume gorilla, so they don't even have consistency there. There's also like a point where they're up in a tree and this girl's getting attacked by giraffes, but when the puppet's attacking her, it's like very much just like a puppet not moving its mouth, she's just getting beaten with a puppet giraffe. Like, it's just so obviously fake, and then like the CGI is like really bad and choppy when they show it. And like one guy gets his arms ripped off by the giraffes, and just, it's like they blurred the CGI as well to try to like distract you from how bad it is. It's awful. And the characters are not likable. There's this one girl, Amber in particular, who's like the super bitchy girl who didn't want to be there but was there because I think she had to, because of like she got in trouble or something like that, and this was like community service or some shit. But she's like just awful and unhelpful the entire time. She like steals a Jeep and tries to escape with everyone else. She like steals her only form of transportation and tries to leave without everybody, and they won't open the gate for her, so like, no, Amber, there's still people in here, we have to, you know, save them. And I think she ends up getting like attacked by a lion and finally dies, and I was like, thank God, it's like the best thing that happened in that whole movie. But like the characters are just, I don't think there's, other than the little girl, like I said, there's not a character in there that I even really care about or like. There's so many people you're introduced to, but you don't get enough of their backstory to care about like what happens to them. And we have like the badass zookeeper who's gonna be the one that like saves the day. I don't even know if she survived. I know that mom, who's the doctor, is supposed to be the granddaughter of Dr. Hammond, and her daughter survived, and I think like maybe one or two other people. But they do the whole standard, like, we've got the zookeeper who has like this tragic backstory, who saves everyone else and is like super badass, and you know, you got like the doctors who have to like prove that they can be part of the action, and then you've got these college students who it's their first day on the job and now they're fighting off like zombie animals. The whole dynamic of all the characters, you're not sure who to follow, who to keep up with. Every scene it feels like one of them's getting killed, so it's like not even worth trying to figure out who's who and like investing in them as people because they're probably gonna die. So it's like really fast paced with how it shows you people and people's like story arcs, but there's no story arc for like any of the characters. No one has like a change of heart or anything like that. It's really just like, oh well, this happened and now here we go having to try to fix it. And I think the mom has like the same revelation that Dr. Hammond had, where she's like, maybe it wasn't like time to do something like this, or I don't even know. They fly off in a helicopter just like the end of the original Jurassic Park. So it's one of those things of like, you're not only stealing the idea of this way better movie, but you're even ending the same way. And like, I don't feel bad for any of the people that were killed because I didn't know anything about them. And the one character you showed us the most, Amber, I hated. So, and it's very obviously just a joking horror movie. It's not meant to be taken super seriously, but I've still never rewatched it. I've tried. I wanted to show my dad just like the really bad effects, so I just like skipped to the funny parts with the animals. Because it's like the story in between is not important. Just watch the really bad CGI animals and get about your day. Like, it's not a good enough movie to make you want to show people and like, this is a bad movie, but let's sit down and watch it because it's like still a good, funny, bad movie. This is a bad movie, let me just show you the one funny part and then you don't have to watch it. Which is why I said I think this is a really good party movie. Like, put it out in the background when you have a bunch of people over. No one's really going to be listening, the volume's going to be down really low, but it's going to be funny when you look over and there's like really bad CGI animals on the TV. Like, that's the kind of movie that this is. It's not meant to be taken seriously, and it's not meant to be watched in a serious way. There is a part 2 to this movie. Kifo, the like prized gorilla, it ends with the doctor shooting him so they can escape onto the helicopter, and you're thinking that he's dead and that it's all over and they're leaving everything behind, and then the last shot is Kifo on the ground and his eyes open, so now we like know that he's alive still. Zoombies 2 came out in 2019. I have not seen it. I don't plan on seeing it. I don't want to see it. If it's anything like the sequels to most purposely bad horror movies, it's even worse because it's trying hard to be bad. A lot of times with these movies, you see kind of like a genuine effort put behind the movie, which you do see with this. It is a genuine effort at trying to make something watchable that just turned out to be really bad. And now it's like the director and writers are like, okay, we know we made something bad, so let's make something bad on purpose. And that's where I can't do movies like that. They are just so awful most of the time that it's not even worth trying to watch. And I wasn't so invested in this story that I like desperately want to see the second one. I could probably go the rest of my life without even thinking about this movie and be totally fine with that. So, and it's definitely one of those movies that I stumbled across, I watched, and I don't think I'll ever recommend anyone else to watch. It truly belongs to be on a list of horror movies I watched so you didn't have to. If you have watched this movie, let me know what you think. You can leave a comment down below or head over to my Instagram, What a Horror. I'll be making a post about this video as well. But I'm interested to see if you guys have seen this movie or if you have any other suggestions for movies that you want me to watch so you don't have to. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. I put out new videos every Friday. And until next time, stay spooky.